There is a new meta approaching, so if you don't want to be left in the dust, you must be ready for it. But I do have some bad news. It's not a fun-looking meta at all. It's not a Jax, Camille, Fiora skill meta, or even a set Darius Beefcake meta. It's the complete opposite. The range top meta is coming, and it's even worse than before. But you might be thinking, aren't range tops already very strong? And although you may be right, this new style of range top laners will be a little bit more annoying to play against. Think of the current best champions in top lane, Rumble, Jace, and Bessa. They all have range advantages over pretty much any melee champion they play against. However, they are all very difficult to execute at a high level. That's why they're only popular and strong in Masters Plus. But these new range top laners, not only are they much easier to execute, but they also don't rely as hard on snowballing in lane. Champions such as Anivia and Lissandra, extremely hard to punish mage top laners. There are two main reasons why I'm more worried about this style of range top laner. Not only do they have amazing wave clear, something most range tops such as Kennen or Vayne don't have, but they also have amazing utility. At least previously, if you channeled Prime the Shibe and one lane against a range top, that would be relatively useless for the rest of the game. If you make a Varus go 0-3, it's basically a free win. But these new high utility mage top laners will always have value, even if you do well in lane against them. But don't just take it from me. Let's check in on Zeus and Keen, some of the best top laners in the world at the moment. Let's see exactly what they've been practicing for their LCK. As we can see here with Zeus, in his last 20 games alone, he's played 15 games of ranged top laners, with 9 of these being completely different champions. Even with Yorick, the melee champion he's practicing the most, this is purely an answer to the ranged top laners we're talking about. You can see primarily the majority of his games are on a bunch of mages and AD carries. However, this could just be classic Zeus cooking up a storm. So let's check in with Keen as well. As you can see, it's very similar. 16 of his last 20 games are all ranged top laners, with 9 unique champions as well. Yes, before you complain, I'm counting Rumble as a ranged top laner. If you disagree, we'll 1v1 right now and I'll show you the range. So what does this all mean? Basically, the top level pros are in a race to discover the strongest mage or ranged top laner. That's why they're trying out basically all of them. Zeus is even brave enough to play some on stage to test them out before his playoffs. But it's not just the pros. A lot of solo queue players are also having great success playing these champions in solo queue, where in the past, these champs were pretty much only used as counter picks. I don't know about you, but when I look up some top lane VODs, this isn't the matchup I had in mind. But let's actually break it down and take a look at specifically why these champions are so strong. We're going to be starting with an example from a Lissandra top 1 trick playing in 2200 LP Korean Challenger. I never thought I'd see the day where I say that and Lissandra top 1 trick in the same sentence, but here we go. Now, in this matchup, playing up against Irelia, who, in my opinion, is one of the best melee answers in the game to ranged or mage top laners. We're going to see exactly how the lane plays out. You can see, due to Lissandra's W, Irelia cannot get the long trade that she's looking for. She's getting heavily poked out. Now, in a lot of matchups, Lissandra would get priority, but Irelia is a tough one. I wanted to start with a matchup that's not going to be easy. This is up against Irelia. Look at the HP difference. Imagine she's playing up against a Set or a Darius, they're just going to get kited into oblivion. You can see Irelia, even though she has some of the best wave clear early game, can't even get this wave under tower and got frozen on straight away. Now, luckily she does have TP, but she's already playing this lane out, losing 5 minions of EXP. So you can already see we still have the benefit of being a ranged top laner in terms of oppressive laning phase, high power in lane, but there's also other advantages coming very shortly. So I'll speed through a little bit here. You can see him just using her champion for gank setup. Our jungler sees, okay, I have a Lissandra. I can come and play around that really shortly. And Irelia knows, okay, I'm dead. I need to try trade 1 for 1. But that's not the important part, right? Lots of champs have CC. What I was really impressed with is what you're going to see very shortly. So she clears the wave and TP's bottom. Now, already straight away, right? Most range top lanes in the game, think of them right now. Vladimir, double combat sums. Varus, Vayne, double combat sums. And even if you did want to take TP on them, they're not going to have the threat needed to pull off this play. And you might be thinking, what play? They all got away. You'll see very shortly. Gets level 6, jumps the wall, and of course just completely obliterates them all here. Already 5 minutes into the game, has had a massive impact in the game. One lane 1v1, got a big XP lead. Set up a gank for a jungler, TP bottom, completely exploded the game here. However, at this point, you could be thinking that guy got pretty lucky. He got a jungle gank and had the best TP flank ward of all time. My jungle and support are way too ugly to do that for me. So let's look at another example where he doesn't even have TP. But it doesn't matter, he's beelining it straight to bottom, and look at his items. These are the ugliest items I've ever seen. Now, what happened next really blew me away. I was appalled when I saw this. Not only did he get counter ganked and got killed without getting a single ability off, but it doesn't even phase him. You'll see what he does the second he respawns. He just back at it again, really wanting to use that level 6 spike, the utility of his champion. So comes back in, Flash W ulti, and of course they kill everyone here. And even helps his team push out the wave with their good wave clear. Now, I definitely wouldn't recommend trying that at home, the 2 back-to-back roams bottom, as you are going to lose a lot. But look top, he only really lost 2 plates. It's actually very difficult to take more than 2 plates in the early game. So you can see he kind of uses that fact that early game plates are super hard to take to make proactive plays without accelerating the enemy top laner too much. But what if these champions aren't up against a melee? What if they're up against the previous iteration of range tops? Here we have an example of Zeus playing our favorite top lane matchup of all time, Anivia versus Varus. Now, before we get started, I will warn you, if you're a Varus hater, this is going to make you very, very excited. So you can see level 1, he's mainly just trying to trade around his electrocute cooldown. Varus has lethal tempo, I have electrocute, so I'm mainly playing off that CD. But he's still fishing for ease as well. You can see trying to max range him to try and get those cheeky ease off. But here, when he goes for a long trade, it's only because electrocute is available. And actually spacing the Varus with Anivia. Years we've been spaced by these Varus players, but now the reverse is happening. This Anivia is actually spacing the Varus. And you'll see very shortly, gets that level 2 spike. And here we go, auto E, plus to go for the W, and already making the Varus base at level 1. The one-shots the wave, and what happened next is going to make you very, very happy. Catches the Varus on his way back to lane. So holds his Q, because Varus has to juke himself to death, and then Q, W, auto E, and chunks the Varus down to about 30%. Now, of course, we have the base. Get a recall off, TP back, and just pick up a Sapphire Crystal Boots. So not the biggest spike in the world, but this champ doesn't really need items. Usually, Anivia rushes Rod of Ages, but the damage is still extremely high. This is probably my least favorite champ to verse at the moment, definitely my permaban going forward. Now, keeping the wave like this, of course got a bit of jungle help, not purely 1v1, but you saw what he did to that Varus 1-3 already. He definitely didn't need the help, but we're not going to turn it down. So it goes for the trade here, just proccing electrocute and disengaging. You need to really make sure you play off that. If you verse a Varus, if you verse a Vayne, of course we're not going to stand there trading auto for auto the whole time. We just trade in and out around our cooldowns, around that electrocute. So looking for an angle here, you can see a lot of movement from both of them, constantly the movement minigame. And if Q misses, it's fine. We click away and try again next time. Gets to level 6, and here we go. So burns the Varus flash and clicks away. The annoying thing about Anivia's trade patterns is it's very non-committal. Whether you miss the Q or not, it's very hard for them to punish you. Where a lot of champions, you can see, have a bit more counterplay when the spells are on cooldown. So kills the Varus, pushes the wave in, and you can see level 6 versus 4. Gonna get 2 plates here. The lane is completely over. This is what I mean when I say the meta is evolving in real time. Top laners were just sick of getting pushed around by champions like Jace or Varus, so they had to theorycraft something new. But what should we actually do about this? Do we all just become losers and play a bunch of mage top laners together? To be honest, I don't think it's necessary. In my opinion, they're gonna be at their strongest in high elo games. But for the average player, it won't be as big of an issue. With that being said, it can be good to have a champion or two up your sleeve, just in case you run into one. Therefore, I made everyone's favorite a tier list with some good answers into mage or range top laners. I made sure to only include melee champions on this list. Definitely no old men that I've been having a lot of fun playing recently. These champions are all good answers in their own way. Either they have high enough threat to be able to punish the mage top laner, or they have good wave clear and sustain, usually a combination of a few of these points. The good thing is a lot of these champions are relatively easy to execute, so if you're worried about mages, one of these would be an easy pickup. But if you have no morals and you're interested in playing mage top laners, it's important to understand when they're actually good. The most important thing to keep in mind by far is your jungler. If you play a mage like Lissandra or Victor with an AP jungler such as Elise or Talia, you're making the game basically unplayable for your team. You're going to be in the Nike store seeing nothing but Mercury treads. I promise you, your comp will be terrible. Ideally, you have an AD bruiser as your jungler. Champions such as Xin Zhao, Lee Sin, or Vibe, these are the best. You could technically have an AD assassin, but it would require a melee support if you don't want your draft to be hideous. As for the enemy comp, it does depend on the mage that you play. Anivia is amazing as disengage, Lissandra great as hard engage, etc. But to be honest, mages are normally quite useful. I'd mainly focus on picking it in a spot where it makes sense in your team comp. But you do also need to make sure you don't just pick any mates that you think looks cool. I definitely don't want to see any top lane Zoes. Therefore, I've made a mini tier list yet again of the best ones in my opinion at the moment. There will likely be more popping up as pros keep cooking, but for now, I would say these are the best in slot. For Anivia, I had to give her a solo spot on this list. She's definitely one of the best top laners in the game at the moment. Even on my normal tier list right now, I would put her in S tier. Therefore, if you want to learn a mage from scratch, you might as well just pick her. Now, you may be thinking, but why are these champions randomly good now? What changed? The laning phase in top lane has just shifted towards champions with range advantages being OP. Jace and Bessa Rumble. These have been the three top lane Hokages for such a long time now, with champions like Vayne and Varus being utilized as common counterpicks. So that's where mages started to come into play, as people needed an answer to being outranged without picking something useless like Caitlyn just to try to win the range battle. These champions have great utility in their kits. Having utility means they aren't reliant on winning lane, even against these oppressive champions that realistically most melee champions can't compete with. But on top of that, you also gain a lot of laning power and more carry potential compared to just picking a full tank, which is what people were usually picking into these S tier champions. But as a reminder, I do want you to keep in mind, even though these champions are becoming strong, the average player shouldn't panic. In Silver or in Platinum, for example, I'd still put my money on the Garen to outperform the Anivia any day of the week. The ease of execution is still the top priority in these ranks. My point is just for you to be more aware of the upcoming meta shift so that you don't get caught off guard, on top of having enough time to prepare a counter or two if you feel like your champ would really struggle. But if you're the type of player that loves to experiment, loves to cook around, feel free to give it a crack and try to be one step ahead of the meta. Alright team, that's it for today. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. This is definitely a very big meta change for top lane, so of course I'd be happy to help if you have any questions about it. But other than that, any support is greatly appreciated, and I'll see you all for the next one.